In the 1980s, my favorite author illustrator, Maurice Sendak, was asked to design a production of the Nutcracker by Kent Stowell, who at the time was the art director for the Pacific Northwest Ballet. And he turned it down. He said, it's too saccharine. It doesn't make any sense. It's irritating. I'm not going to do it. Then it stuck in the back of his head like a little walnut kernel, and he went off and found the original fairy tale and read it and saw how the potentiality that existed within it. And so he went back to Kent and said, okay, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do it if we rewrite it and do a plot that's closer to the original story, that's a little bit darker, that has a bit of an edge to it. And Kent Stowell loved that idea because he wanted the Pacific Northwest Ballet to have their own Nutcracker, because up until then, everyone mostly, and it still happens, just was copying the George Balanchine version. And literally every version has something tethering it to the George Balanchine version, which I am fatigued from the George Balanchine version. So tonight I am dressed as Maurice Sendak's version of Godfather Drosselmeyer. And this particular version of the Nutcracker is dark and beautiful and lovely. And it's got elements of brightness to it, and it's, instead of going to the land of the sweets, she goes to the land of the toys, because that's what happens in the book. And there's this beautiful moment where the young Clara is traveling through this ice cave, and as she's walking through it and she's being reflected in channels of ice, she ages up and becomes a grown woman, because it is her fantasy. And she grows up and she sees herself as an adult, and then she has this beautiful dance with the Nutcracker prince. It's very and beautiful. And I don't have a Black Peter with me this evening, but what I do have is this.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
There's only two of these in existence. The one that was built for the production in the 80s, which is currently in the Maurice Sendak Museum, I believe in, I want to say Oregon, but I don't know if that's correct. But this was made for me by a very dear friend. I have to take the eye patch off for a moment. But this was made for me by a very dear friend of mine. And it is entirely resin. It weighs a metric ton. He's horrifying because he's supposed to be. That's one part of the fairy tale that people often forget, is that he was cursed with ugliness, which is why he's got bug eyes in a head that's way too big for his body and stuff like that. But he's so charming and so cute and so lovely. And my favorite thing about this particular production is that upon its completion, Maurice took all of his designs for the sets and the costumes and bound them together with a translation of the original text. And
Beautiful.
you can still buy this version of the Nutcracker, and all of the illustrations are his designs. Like this snowy scene here is one of the backdrops, and as you flip through it, there are like that's one of the curtains from the show with Godfather Drosselmeyer and all of his toys. And it's just it's so lovely and it's so fabulous, and it's available to watch on YouTube. So if you get a chance, do watch it. It's absolutely fabulous. It's so beautiful and lovely, and it's definitely got lots of surprises.